sometimes we don't know what we want, but it is because we're climbing the wrong ladder. Like we are pursuing an antiquated vision, a goal that we set like years ago, and it's not aligned anymore.
This is By Joyan Season 2. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we bring you inspiring stories, powerful message, and fun conversations with me and my special guests and friends, and it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. This podcast is for you if you're looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life. Now let's dive into today's episode and get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. Joining us today is a vision coach who helps high achievers navigate life in the most fulfilling way. She used a clear vision throughout her life to create a career at Google, a successful coaching business, a publishing contract with Penguins, as well as traveling around the world. She runs the popular INSEAD Business School Life Vision program as well as Vision Path, and her corporate clients include Google, Johnson & Johnson, and Vodafone. And she delivered a TED talk titled, Do Your Goals Prevent Your Success? She's here today to empower you to craft a life vision and achieve it. So guys, help me welcoming the life vision coach and TED speaker, Caterina Kostoula.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I haven't interviewed any guest who talks about life vision, so I'm really excited to dive into the topic. So first, what is a life vision? How would you describe it, and why do we need one?
I have a unique definition of life vision because I struggled with the definition for a while. Most people think life vision is an image of a destination, where I want to be in the future. But I found that definition problematic because if you just go with that definition, you're in risk of not living in the present, not living in the here and now, always sacrificing the present for the future, always thinking that the next moment is more precious than this moment. So my definition of a life vision, it is the navigational system that guides you through a fulfilling life. It can include some goals or some image of a destination, like where you want to be. But it's not only that. It's the navigational system that will tell you, this is your next step. This is what you need to do right now, right here, which I think it's a lot more valuable than just having a goal that you're aiming for. Because as long as you have a robust navigational system, like let's say you're fulfilled and happy and you're creating something right now, so you can only see what you want to do next. That's okay. You don't have to have the final destination. Sometimes for projects, for example, having a final, when I was writing the book, for example, having a final destination, I need to deliver a manuscript in 6 months, can help. So a final destination can help with projects. But I would say for when it comes to our life, most of the destinations we pick, we don't even know if we will enjoy it when we reach there. Like, I want to become a CEO, I want to have a 7-figure business. Most of these goals are actually not joy-driven, are ego-driven, and they're not going to lead us to a fulfilling life. So if we are to have some destination, and I do work with vision boards and really putting images, it's more qualitative. It's more, how do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? And as I said, a navigational system has, in the GPS, you might put the destination, you might put a lot of things. I was inspired by how the animals move, and especially whales. Like, I found out that whales move from the poles to the equator straight as an arrow. And the scientists really couldn't understand, how can a whale go straight as an arrow, half the Earth, and we couldn't understand how they could do it. And they have such a complex navigational system. Like, they use the magnetic fields of the Earth. But they use sun and the positions of the stars. They use what they remember of how are the underground of the sea. They have a complex navigational system, because when something fails, like if it's cloudy and you cannot see the stars, what are you going to do? You're going to be lost as a whale. So humans, we are the same. We have values, we have joy that drives us. We might have a desire of, I want to experience that. So it's not like a simple, this is where I want to be. It's a more complex navigational system.
Yeah, well, that's really, it blows my mind away because all this while I was thinking, this is my dream life, this is my life vision. I have this vision board that I look at every day. Like now you're telling me this is not my life vision. Okay, yeah, but I do get it, because as a high achiever, it's not about, I wouldn't even know how I would feel when I get there. And it's fleeting. We all know that, right? It's all about the person you become and how do you feel, why do you want that, so where do we start for people they don't even know what they want in life, they don't even have goals, they don't even have a vision? Where do they start?
They start from the here and now. My first step, and I have a methodology with like three big phases and steps in between that I walk my clients. And the first phase is letting go, actually. And the first thing you let go is attachment and resistance. You start with where you are now and you fully accept where you are now. A lot of the times we get stuck because we are resisting. I don't like my job. I don't like this thing in my business. And we have all these negative emotions. So if you want to create a vision, you want to connect with your inner wisdom about what to do next, you let go for a moment of the resistance to the here and now. You let go of the attachment to the past or attachment to old goals, because a lot of the times, sometimes we don't know what we want, but it is because we're climbing the wrong ladder. Like we are pursuing an antiquated vision, a goal that we set like years ago, and it's not aligned anymore. So the first step is really tuning in the here and now and let go of resisting the here and now, because it is what it is. If you resist the here and now, you always lose. It is the reality. This is where I am. And it doesn't mean not do anything to change it. It just mean really accept it and not resist internally, complaining about your boss, complaining about your clients. Just settle in. This is where I am. And I can let go of the past because it doesn't exist anymore. And I can let go of any old goals that are not aligned anymore. So this is the first step. And then, should I go on?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
you're talking about, I was about to ask the three-step formula that you talk about in
yes.
the clients. Yeah.
So I will, the first is free, I call it freedom, and it's letting go. You let go of attachment first, but then if you're stuck and you don't really know what you want, there's some blockages, because kids know what you want. If you've seen kids, like we were born, I want this and I want this ice cream and I want this toy. Like kids are full of desire.
Uh,
They want to experience life. So if we are stuck, it's usually either there's some fear about what we want. Look, deep down, we know what we want, but we're afraid. We're afraid either that we will fail if
mm,
we pursue this. Let's say some of our listeners, they want to launch a business or they want a relationship. They're afraid they're not going to have it, or they're afraid it's going to cost them dearly. Sometimes they have attached what they want. They have this limiting belief that, oh, to get that, I will need to work night and day. I will need to sacrifice my health. Like they have some limiting beliefs around that. So the second step is, let's clear the fears. What are the fears? What would you do if you were not afraid? What would you do if success was guaranteed? These are the types of questions in this step of the process that we need to ask in order to remove the fear. If there wasn't fear, what would I do? But there is a sneakier part here, and it's the ego, Joyan. And by ego, and that's, I was so passionate about this when I had this insight that my TEDx talk is about that, about ego-driven goals and joy-driven goals.
I love that.
Um, and I realized that a lot of the times we know what we want, but we're afraid that other people would criticize us if we pursue it. We pursue instead something else that might impress other people, or we just pursue goals not because we want them, but just because we think, if I hit this, if I become a six-figure entrepreneur or a seven-figure entrepreneur, I will feel more worthy. It's not
Yeah.
that this is my authentic vision, is that somehow I have attached my worthiness with hitting a goal. And that really distracts me from what I really want, because maybe what I really want is to have 3 months of traveling the world every year, you know? But because I'm attaching certain milestones with my worth, I'm pursuing ego-driven goals versus joy-driven goals. So this is the first step. We need to clean all the blockages in order to see what we really want.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, the first step is about fully accepting where we are right now, letting go of things they are not letting go of resistance and attachment to all the goals. And second step is like understanding of fear. So what is
Yes.
the next step? Like, is there a third step? Yeah.
Yeah, the third step is letting go of ego. And with these three steps are under this phase of freedom, freedom from ego, attachment, and fear, attachment, and ego. And then I go to the second phase, which is flow. Like once you clear out all the attachment and the fear and the ego, then you tune in. What gives me joy?
Mm,
Um, what you may create some experiments. Like you might think, I might like to cook. So you go to a cooking course. Who knows, right? You may take some inspired action. So the second phase is try to tune into your joy, create some experiments because action creates clarity. A lot of the times we think I need to lock myself in a room
yep.
and really think what I want to do. But in reality, just take a risk-free step and test your hypothesis. If you think you're gonna like go on a date, as we like in relationship, you wouldn't marry someone. You go on a date first. I advise my clients to do the same with a job, a business, a hobby. Like create some risk-free experiments. So this is the second phase: connecting to joy, connecting to desire, connecting to your intuition. Like a big part, it is whether it is sometimes we have a gut feeling that guides us through life. Even we use dreams in that phase. Like when we are in that second phase, I have my clients write your dreams because maybe some of the suppressed desires or intuitions about your path, they might come with you in through your subconscious. So this, I call it flow because it's joy, intuition, and inspired action.
I
That
love,
second phase.
yeah, I love that.
And then the third phase, I call it
Oh,
form, which is actually that's when you create the typical vision, like the vision board. And I have them write down the four areas. How do you want to be in your health, your love, your work, and your play? And I start with play because a lot of people leave it last. I was like, by play, I mean, where do you want to travel? What experience do you want to have? Like we start with the fun stuff and then we built a vision that is a written document and it's also a vision board, but that comes last. Most people start from that, but we've done all the work of freeing ourselves from all the blockages and connecting to our flow, and then it's the form. We give it our vision some form,
mm.
and this is the whole process.
Yeah, it's interesting. In fact, last night I was just journaling about my life vision. It wasn't because I am going to have this call with you. It was just like something that I wanted to do. So last night before I go to bed, I just write down like, like I said, what do I want to achieve in all areas of my life? And so that is the first thing that I do, right? It's like writing down my vision in all areas of my life. But what you're saying is that is the last step. Like we are
Yeah.
not doing that, not until you have done the first three steps, right? So that's really something, yeah, super new, like really new to me. Do you have a tool or free tools or exercises that you can guide people through the four steps that you can offer to my listeners?
Oh, yes. I have a toolkit. I have several guides. If you go to theleaderbot.com/toolkit, I have it's several guides. One is how to let go of everything that doesn't align with your vision. The other is around mindset shifts that will allow you to live your vision. So this is, I think, the most practical. There's a ideal day visualization. Like it's an audio that it walks them through to visualize their ideal day. And I have clients crying when they're doing this meditation, and I included this in the toolkit for your listeners. So I would say this is a good place to start. It's theleaderbot.com/toolkit.
Yeah, I put a link in the show note below. Okay, now I'm really excited to talk to you about ego-driven goals and joy-driven goals. So when we set a goal, any goal, right? It can be any goal, career goal, finance goal, relationship goal, health goals. How do we know that? How do we like differentiate whether this is an ego-driven or is this joy-driven? What question should we be asking ourselves?
This is a great question because the same goal can be joy driven for you and it can be ego driven for me. So you can't tell, like a big house, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe you want a big house because you really want the space and you want to have fun and do dinner parties and enjoy it. Maybe I want the big house to show off to my neighbors, So you cannot tell by the goal. Why it's the why I want this, right? Do I want this because it will bring me joy, or do I want this because it will make me feel worthy in my eyes and others? So there are a few questions that you can ask. One of the most interesting is, would I still want this if nobody would ever know I achieved it or I got this?
Wow. This is the, game changer. So would I still want this if nobody knows that I have
Yeah,
this, right? Okay.
yeah. And it could be whatever, the promotion, this financial milestone, the fancy car, the house, the relation, even losing weight, like any goal, right? Will I still want to lose weight if everybody could see me with my old weight, right? Or do I do it for other people? Or do I do it for me? So I think that's the key question. Then there are the way the goal is phrased, it can be a tell. Like if it says, I want to be the best at something, that's an ego-driven goal because
Mm,
you're basing the goal on other people being worse than you. It's a competitive, right? Rather than trying to be like I reframe because we were taught to be really competitive, and that works in sports, but it doesn't work in life. In life, the more you collaborate with
yes.
other people, the better it is. And it really, you're signing up for misery. If for me to be happy, I need everybody else to be worse than me, like I'm signing up for miserable life. So I will say for some people it works to reframe that I want to be one of the greats, or I just want to enjoy what I do and contribute and grow and help other people in the service. Like that's so much more fulfilling and important, and it doesn't depend on other people being worse than me. And another tell of ego-driven goals is I found that they make you feel bad. So they make you feel like a loser if you haven't achieved them, or anxiety. Oh, I should have achieved that already. Um, Usually, the feeling associated with an ego driven goal is a negative feeling, either shame, I should have done this by now. I should have this money. I should have this type of relationship, or I should shame, anxiety, fear. You feel fear. Oh my God, what if I don't achieve these? All these negative emotions. A joy-driven goal, it's actually brings you joy. Like if you really want something because it will bring you joy.
I
Like
love.
let's say you want to go to a beautiful island. You're in Singapore, and let's say you're gonna go on holiday. Let's say that's a joy-driven goal. It could be an ego-driven goal. Maybe you're just gonna go and have nice selfies for your Instagram. But
Yeah.
let's say it's not, and you just do it for joy. You just feel joy even before you go. You don't feel shame or anxiety or so that's another tell whether it's an ego-driven or joy-driven goal.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, this is so helpful. This is so freaking helpful. So what if right now, because I'm thinking about all the goals that I have now, and some of them, I want to be very honest, they make me feel anxious, like I'm not there yet. Why is it not happening? I'm trying to make them happen. And that, by what you just said, is an ego-driven goal. And I'm not saying it's completely bullshit, but yeah, it's true, right? So what would I have to do right now, knowing that I have ego-driven goals? What should I do about that?
And I'm not saying you have everybody. I had them. That's how I realized that I had them all my career. That's why I had this
Sure.
insight.
Yeah.
Um, but the problem with the ego-driven goals is A, if you are, and it's attaching your worthiness to achieving the goal.
Mm,
A, there's studies that you actually perform worst. You're less likely to achieve the goal. And one study they did was with grades, people that are in universities, that they
yep.
attached the grades to their worthiness, they perform worse in the exams. And that makes sense. We can get that. They're more stressed. If you become very needy and attached to the outcome, your performance is lower. So that's one reason why you need to let it go and really enjoy the now and what you want to do. The second is there are the more ego-driven goals we have, the less fulfilled we are. It's more like there's research that the more depressed we are because we're postponing in the future. And the problem is the moment you hit an ego-driven goal, and I had people resisting this idea. They say, this is who I am. I have ego-driven goals. That's how society conditions us. They say you need to achieve this to be worthy. The problem is you achieve the ego-driven goals and you're happy for 5 minutes, and then it's replaced with another goal.
Yep.
Always. Like you've seen that we've achieved so many things in our lives and it's never enough. Like if you have ego driven goals, it's always a not enoughness. And it will never be enough because you're looking something externally, which is your worthiness, you were not going to find into any achievement. It's inside, right? I'm worthy. I was born worthy. You were worthy. Everybody was born worthy.
Yeah.
So it's not something I need to prove myself why I need to exist in this world. Um, so there are, and the third is it distracts you because while you're pursuing this ego-driven goal, you're not pursuing the joy-driven goal that actually you could perform better, you could be more joyful, you could have more impact in the world. Everything would be better if the goals are joy-driven. But we're so conditioned to be attached to an outcome, searching for our worthiness, that we have all these negative outcomes. So I will say the moment you see it is easier to let it go. You just need to remind yourself, okay, this is an ego-driven goal. What's the joy-driven goal?
Mm.
You need to replace them. What do I feel like doing with joy? And it needs some inner work as well to really stand and say, I don't need to hit that goal to be worthy or to feel good about myself or to feel happy or to feel fulfilled.
Okay. So, but people who are listening to this episode, they might be saying, but I cannot just pursue all joy-driven goal. We are living in a world where, we need money, for example. I need to work at a job that I don't even like. It's not bringing me joy, but I still need to work, but I don't have time to pursue other things that makes me happy. So we still need to have those goals and do things that we don't really like, and sacrifice maybe our happiness in the process.
Many people think that,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work long term. Short term, all of us, we had to do this, and we might have to do it in the future, right? Let's say I want to launch a business, but I need some savings first.
Yeah.
So I might work in my corporate job until I get the savings, as long as it's short term and I do it without resistance. Because the mistake I made was I was working in the job I didn't like, but I was resisting it and I was complaining about that everyone, right? If you have to have a job that's not the dream job, but you need it to pay the bills
Mm-hmm.
and or save for to do something more joy driven in the future, you do it without resistance because you're grateful for this job that's paying the bills right now because the joy is actually to feed my family or to feed myself at that moment. But also I'm listening to the navigational system that says, oh, actually this job is not a good fit. And I'm taking small steps to move towards something that's more aligned rather than surrendering and saying, okay, I'll never be happy, I guess. I'll just work on this. Because if you do that, sooner or later, you're into the universe will slap you in the face. Like either with a big failure, and we've seen people getting made redundant, or, which is even worse, with burnout and health issues. Our body cannot sustain long term being in lack of joy. Like this is the whole point of your podcast, right? Long term, you will get sick.
Yeah.
If you're in a miserable environment. So short term, great. Let go of the resistance, pay the bills, perfect, and slowly, with patience, move towards something more joy driven, because otherwise, like you will get kicked out of that job either with a failure or a burnout.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. Now, looking back on my life, like even now, I think, yeah, it's so true that you mentioned that sometimes we have to do things on a short-term basis, right?
Yeah.
In order to do
Yeah.
what we like eventually, we all need to sacrifice at some point of time, for what we truly love, right? And I think that's because if you get everything you want so easily, then it's not worth it. I know that's how I would like to see it, how I convince myself.
But
Yeah.
you know what I've seen? It takes me shorter to let go. And that's why one of the guides in the toolkit is how to let go everything that's
Yeah.
not aligned with the vision.
Mm.
Because for most of our listeners, and obviously there are people that really need the money, and but let's say there's a big majority that it's more fear than actual need. They're
Yeah.
staying out of fear. It's an imaginary threat versus I really need this. And I had clients um, that would say, "Oh, I have zero savings," but then their family would support, but I want to write a book. And that's in Asia that the families are very supportive in the culture. My clients were from Asia, and they figure out a way. Their family said, "Okay, I'll support you." They were lucky to have a supportive family to write the book. In the West, more people will count on their savings. Depends, right? Whether it's your relationship, like if you need to make a transition. But I found like I was thinking about leaving Google to create my coaching business 3 years.
Wow.
And then as an entrepreneur, like the next contract I have that was not aligned anymore, I was thinking about leaving it 1.5 years. And then the next project, in a few months, I've become so much better at letting go of things and trusting myself that I can let go of this thing that's not aligned, and something else will come that will be more aligned, more joyful. I'll figure it out. Um, so I also want to say, sometimes you have to short term if you need the savings or the money. But for most people, we stay longer than we have to out of fear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, fear, yes, it's what holds people back, right? From starting a business, dating, or
Yeah.
having a family. So how can we you talk about letting go a lot, and I want to really like talk about that because it's something that I personally struggle with, right? Letting go. So how can we identify and then let go of release things that are not aligned with our life vision?
I think you look at energy. I would look at my day to day and I'll see what gives me energy
Mm,
and what takes away energy. I think our energy is the biggest indicator of what I should let go.
okay.
I will go a little bit deeper. Like sometimes we are just tired, right? Maybe do I really, is this a problem I have with the project, with the people in the project? Is it that I'm just tired? Is it that sometimes it's not that clear. We don't have to be, rushing into decisions. That's why, but everything has a life cycle in life. Every project, every job, like there's the birth, there's the maintenance, and then we need a sunset. And unless we sunset the things that have completed their life cycle, we won't start the new thing, and we won't be as successful, right? Because when you're starting something, you're passionate, you're aligned, you will be more successful. You'll put more of love into that new project. But also, if you quit everything too soon, you don't get a project in the maintenance phase, which is actually when you work less and you gain more, because
Mm,
the startup phase you work a lot and it doesn't have fruits yet. So it's always the right timing to leave projects, jobs, to letting go, right? Let's be aware of that. I have then on letting go, you want to do it without burning any bridges. If you have to let go a job, a client, a relationship, like after you do the inner work, this gives me energy. This takes away energy, so it needs to go. How can you do it without burning any bridges? And I have several tips in the guide. Um, for me, when I have a part of my business that I think I need to sunset down, I really raise my prices. I do. So all of a sudden, like it's sunsetting on its own, at least in the meanwhile, I'm well compensated for doing something that is not as joyful. That has been one of the ways to really softly let go. But also what I found really liberating and in my business is I work for 6 years and then I take a year off, a sabbatical. And last year was my sabbatical, and I had another it was in Costa Rica, and I had another sabbatical 7 years ago in Thailand. And I do this because it's very helpful. I have 6 years to plan and save for the sabbatical. And it's very helpful to prioritize other aspects of my vision rather than work. Like a sabbatical for me, it's not that I'm doing nothing, is that I prioritize my health and my relationships more than work. I don't have to work for that year. If last year I did work, I did launch a program for 6 weeks because I wanted to, but I didn't have to that year. I had enough savings buffer. And what helped me with the sabbatical is I had to let go of everything. I told everyone I'm going on a sabbatical. And it felt like, when you need to declutter your closet and you take all the clothes out and you only put the ones you like inside, like Marie Kondo, the closet. That's what it
yeah.
felt like because I had a sabbatical. It's like I stopped every project. Then I didn't have to restart it. I realized this part of my business, I don't need to restart. So My business changed because I took this break. So it's another way, not suitable for everyone, but this is something I've done last year. And I only restarted one part of my business. I never went back to the other part.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, a sabbatical is something that I heard twice this week. So maybe it's a sign that I should take one.
Mhm. Yes. So in the toolkit, there is also an ebook of my first sabbatical. It says how the sabbatical boosted my career. It's in the toolkit we have for your listeners. It might not feel aligned. If it doesn't feel aligned and it feels, oh, this
Yep.
doesn't feel good, obviously don't do it, because doesn't mean because I did it or someone else did it, it might not be the right. What I realized after the sabbatical is because I only brought back the projects I loved, and actually I was a lot more successful because this idea, like vision is the navigational system, came to me when I was whale watching in Costa Rica,
Mm.
right? My work became so much richer and deeper because I had time to do other things and have other experiences. And also, I had to live my vision. I'm in this. If you're a vision coach, I always need to live my vision first in order to lead other people and show them how it's done, right? So I need to do those things for me to see, okay, this is what I wanted to do. But I realized I don't need sabbaticals anymore. Like ideally, you want your week to be giving you energy rather than take away energy. It's just sometimes when you are a high achiever, you might overdo it and you don't want to burn yourself. Even if you like the work, you might overdo it. So I always had buffers. Even before the sabbatical, I do take 3 months of holiday a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll take to not all together. It's 6 weeks in the summer. I organize my business to have holiday because travel was important to me. Time with family was important to me. You can do the life design the way you like it. It doesn't have to be sabbatical. It could be a
Yep.
4-day week. It could be shorter days. Or for someone, work, they love it. They want to do it all day, and that's fine too. Like the vision is not someone else's vision. It needs to be your own.
Yeah, so true, right? I could work 2 hours a day and do everything I want for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
talk about your ideal day, vision, right? Or visualization. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also talk a lot about aligned action. So how do we know that the actions that we are taking are aligned, to our passion, purpose, values, anything?
You don't know. The truth is.
Really?
You can't be for sure because
Right.
and people ask me also, how do I know my intuition? How do I trust my intuition? I have some tips to give, like you can never be 100% sure because there's wishful thinking as well that can confuse us.
Mm.
And I've seen a lot of the times we think it's intuition or we think it's inspired action or aligned action. Um, Aligned action, actually, it's easier. Inspired action, you can get the inspiration and do it. And most of the success of my life came from inspired action. Like the contract I have with Penguin for the book, there was a Christmas and I got this inspiration. I want to interview, like you're doing right now. I was like, I'm going to interview coaches. So I'm interview a coach who's based in Singapore, Brenda Benz. I write to her and I say, can I interview? I'll write an article about your coaching because I was new in my career in coaching and I want to learn from more experienced coaching. And I wasn't paid for this, obviously. It was an inspired action. I do this article. It didn't even go that well with my audience. And then 6 months later, an editor at Penguin, the biggest publishing house in the world, finds that article that it wasn't even my idea. So I had interviewed someone else.
Wow.
And they reached out to me and said, can you write a book for us? So yeah, crazy, right? So that was inspired action. So when I have an inspiration, I take action quickly because I know if I don't do it quickly, I lose the inspiration.
Yes.
Uh, so this week, I'll give you two examples of actions. On Monday, like last Monday, I had this idea. I want to launch a self-love challenge with for free for my community. So I knew I needed to act quickly. So Monday, I have the idea. I work with my assistant. On Thursday, we'll launch it to my community. The next Monday, which means yesterday, we're recording this on a Tuesday. We'll launch like within a week. Within
Wow.
3 days. I launched. Within a week, I'm live. I have 450 people in. That's an inspired action. At the same time, though, yesterday, I thought I did an inspired action by hiring a counselor, a counseling session. It was very inspired. I saw him on Instagram. Someone recommended him. I hired him. I did the session yesterday, and it was awful. It was awful, yeah. Like
Wow.
seriously, I was worse. Then I went in,
Oh,
and it
sorry.
was my first day of my challenge, and I was like, what did I do? And I thought it was inspired action, but it wasn't, because that was wishful thinking. I really wanted this person to help me with what I needed help and healing with. So I convinced myself, this is inspired action. I feel cold. I feel intuitively cold to this person. Now let me hire him. I booked like a super
Right.
expensive session, and it was awful. So that's what I'm saying. Even I'm teaching those things, and sometimes I cannot tell if it's inspiration or if it's wishful thinking. But if it's counterintuitive, a lot of the times my inspired action will be fire your most highly profitable client. That usually is inspired action. Like if it goes against logic, against wishful thinking, my logic says, oh, why do you want me to fire that client? He's the most profitable. And my gut says, no, but this work is not aligned anymore. You need to let go of that client because it takes so much of your energy. That's one sign I found. Usually my intuitive, inspired actions are counter logical. It's my
And
higher self knowing more than my little fearful logical self that wants to cling into safety.
yeah. I mean, and in that moment, like, what do you follow? Do you follow your logic? Because maybe it just doesn't make sense at all, things that your gut is telling you. It could be traveling to
And
the country. I don't know.
yes, now I've become better at trusting my intuition. Like I've made mistakes not
Yeah.
following it, burning myself out usually. So now I trust it more, especially when it's like that.
Mm,
And usually I will get recognition immediately, like things like that. Oh, it was call this client that hasn't asked for the deliverable yet and give them a refund. That what my intuition will say. That doesn't make sense. Why would I give a refund? They don't ask for
yeah.
a refund. And I do it, and immediately they say, "Oh no, we're gonna do the job." And finally, you know, so I found once you start following your intuition and your inspiration, you start seeing the rewards. Like I told you, the penguin contract,
Yeah.
or like most of my big successes came from inspired action, which was action that didn't, it wasn't, I didn't do it for money. Like interviewing that lady in
Yeah.
Singapore, I didn't get paid for this. And I have many like examples like this. Even now, like I'm doing a free 21-day self-love challenge. But look at this. I don't have a goal out of it. If I had, I'm enjoying doing it. So I'm not attached that this challenge need to create a certain outcome. This is what I mean by not being attached to outcomes, and just really you get the inspiration about your next step. And I trust good things will come. Like in what world something good would not come of me? And even if nothing good comes, I'm hoping some of these 450 people will increase their self-love. That's why I'm doing it. But I will have fun during the process. It's joy driven. So I have nothing to lose and only to gain.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I can resonate because this podcast, when I first started, it wasn't for money. I wasn't looking for any sponsors, it was just out of like it was my joy. I call it my happiness project. And now
Yeah.
it has been 4 years almost producing this show. I've been doing it for 4 years and I attracted
Wow.
sponsors, I get clients, I have like amazing people like you come on the show. It is really my joy and I'm so glad I name it that way, my
Was it an inspired action then for you to start? Like you got like this
so
nudge, I need to start.
inspired, so inspired despite although I was so afraid, like start a podcast. I was a nobody. Like I was just like someone who decided to create content on social media, started a
Yeah.
whole, my Facebook page. But podcasting was my inspired action, exactly like you said. Yeah. I'm so glad
Yeah.
I followed. Yeah.
Yes.
But you're so right. Sometimes we wouldn't know, right? We wouldn't know whether it's aligned or whether it's not aligned, misaligned action. We have to learn. It's sometimes we have to learn the lessons the hardest way, right? Life is not perfect.
Yeah, and you trust yourself that you'll make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And you will figure it out along the way. But obviously, journaling, meditation, silence, like the more time you shut the logical mind and you connect with deeper wisdom, the more odds you have. You will get the right inspired actions and aligned actions. Like there's been wisdom of thousands of years about this. Like most of our thinking is not accurate, it's fear driven,
Yeah.
survival driven, and it's not really helping us be happy. So silencing the mind is your way to connecting to that inner wisdom.
Yeah. So let's say we have established, we follow the steps, we have established our life vision now. What do we do after that? Like, what are the steps? How do we turn them into actionable steps?
I'm glad you're asking this because I'm asking my clients to separate vision from strategy.
Okay.
Because most people may want a goal, but if they cannot see the how am I going to achieve it,
Yep.
they're just not going to pursue it. So I say, if you want something, don't worry about the how. You can put things, and what's the worst case that can happen? You never achieve it. So what? Right? Just put things in your vision and in your vision board. So I really separate the how I'm going to go about it from the what. But let's say also what I want to say is that life vision, it's not a stagnant document. It is your navigational system. So I'm connecting to my life vision on a moment by moment basis. Like booking this podcast, like every little action you're taking is connecting to your vision, your inner GPS. So that's it. The first thing I'm going to say, don't let it stagnate. Like, this is it. I wrote it. This is where I'm going. You need to check it again and again. Is this where I'm going? Is this still aligned? Do I still want this? Things have changed. Life happens. Uh, but then once you have the vision, you can see if some of those things you want to make turn them into a project.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, most of the things in my vision, I do my vision board and I let it go. I don't even have it to see it every day. For me,
Okay.
it's the process of getting clear on what I want. And then I realize just by following my navigational system day by day, I look back 6 months or a year later and I say, oh my goodness, I've created all those things. And I didn't even do it consciously. I'm doing the vision now.
Okay.
Like all of those things, whether it's trips or even before I got the email from Penguin for the book, I will, I want to write a book. And the actions I took, I signed up to a book writing course or something like that. There's always, I find, putting some investment
Mm.
towards the vision, it acts like burning your bridges a little bit. It acts internally like, oh, I'm committed to this. And usually either it's signing up to a course if you have, I want to achieve this, or hiring a mentor. Sometimes I do believe some investments I've seen helps you internally to really commit towards that vision. But then the way the book happened was not how I thought I planned it. I was signed up to this course, but then I got an email that Penguin wanted to publish me. I couldn't have dreamt, but this happened, right? That's how you do it. Like, after you've done the vision, you may want to turn some things into a project, but more often than not, I see people, you with the added clarity, you navigate your day-to-day life, and it's just your decisions from now on move you closer to the vision because you know what you want and where you're going.
It's almost like manifestation, right? Do you teach manifestation by any means or by any chance?
Um, I I believe in manifestation up to a part. I believe we're co-creators with the universe. I believe our thought, our word is our one. Like a lot of the things we say, we create. I believe our thinking has incredible power. Uh, I don't. I didn't teach manifestation because for me, if you are aligned with your vision, good things happen. Like, if you know what you want and you take actions that make you feel good,
Okay.
that's manifestation, really. Manifestation says feel like what you already want,
Yeah.
you've already achieved it.
Mm.
So I teach it without saying, oh, this is manifestation. I teach it because that's a way to be happy as well, rather
Yeah.
than sacrifice my happiness only when I achieve that goal. Let me be happy now because happiness, I don't need anything. I have everything I ever needed inside to be happy.
Mm.
And out of this happiness, ask myself, what do I want to create? Because the universe is creative, right? I'm aligned with the universe when I want to be creative and do stuff and experience stuff. So I do not teach manifestation. I believe in it, but I think it's a dance. We're co-creators because sometimes we create things, and I've created a lot of things, and a lot of the times life happens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say, oh, if you're really in high vibration and you have a vision, everything will go well from now on. You won't have any losses, any disappointments, because that's not true. In my experience, life happens. And it could be that you asked for something, a certain level of wisdom, of that you need to go through certain challenges to achieve that level of wisdom. I don't know. But it's a thing of knowing that not everything is within your control,
Mm.
and you'll have to dance. You'll have to create things, and visualize them and create them. And also when things come your way, and sometimes it slaps that life gives us, I need a balance. But I use the same tools I teach for the vision. I need to accept what's happening, accept reality, and see what my next step is, and tune into my intuition. So whether things are going well or not well, I use the same tools to navigate my life.
Yeah. So you see, obviously you have achieved your life vision and you are teaching people how to achieve theirs. And what would you say is the number one mindset shift that has helped you personally to achieve your life vision?
First, I wouldn't use the word achieve because it looks like it's done and dusted. I think I actually changed the wording I've used quite a lot through my experience. I use connect, and I connect
Connect.
daily. And
Okay.
um, it might be days that I'm not connecting to my life vision. If I do
Right.
something to please someone else, that day I'm not connected to my life vision.
Mm.
Let's say, I'm going to a party that I don't want to go and it's horrible. I didn't connect to my life vision that day.
Love
That's a
that.
vision of being surrounded by people I enjoy or whatever. It's not a big deal. What was the biggest mindset shift? I think it was mindset shift. Although I know I do have a guide with 10 mindset shifts, I think it was more what I needed to live my vision more was courage. And it was courage of letting go.
Mm.
And a lot of times I had to let go something good. Like I had to let go a six-figure job at Google.
Yeah.
I had to let go projects, clients, friends. It's more courage that I can let go of something and trust that somehow I'll figure it out.
So when things are not going your way, when you are experiencing hardship,
Yeah.
challenges, building your business, and you have experienced self-doubt, I'm sure we all have these emotions and negative thinking, right? Because we are human beings. So when you are experiencing all those negative emotions or thinking, like, what would you do? What did you do at that moment?
I think it's a different thing when there's challenge that's external versus internal
Yep.
self-doubt. Like I'm separating the two. And for me, they don't go together. Like I've experienced extreme adversity, and this is like bereavement in my losing someone I loved, and things like that happens, and it's out of our control. And when this happens, when hardships happens, um, for me, it is try to nurture and love myself as much as possible.
Why do you think that is important?
Because that's how we survive. Like that's what you would do with a child. If a child falls and hurts their knee and their knee is bleeding, you hug the child and you let the child feel their feelings and maybe cry, and you just give them love, and maybe you give them they have a nap and give them a nice meal. That's how I treat myself when
Wow.
I'm going through tough time. Like I love myself more to go through the tough time. What you mentioned about self-doubt,
Mm.
let's say before my TEDx talk, there was I was afraid that what if I forget my words? What if the tech goes bad? And what if it's awful? Like it's a live event, everything could go wrong. Like this type of self-doubt. And then I just see it into perspective. Like, okay, what's the big deal? Like if I do my TEDx talk and it fails, I'm not going to share it. Compared to the seeing things into perspective to other more important things, like people I love, health, like a failed TEDx talk is not a big deal. I think a lot of times we lose perspective.
Mm.
And it's also letting go of the ego driven, like it's what will people think of me? Oh, the more inner work we do and we let that go, the less afraid we are. Okay, like there might be failures, or I launch a product, nobody buys. Okay, I'll launch something else. Like I've managed when it's not a huge thing to manage the inner yeah, I might be disappointed a couple of days and say, oh, I worked on this, nobody was interested. But then it's fine. You move on. And in terms of confidence, I think confidence follows competence.
Mm.
It's okay. Like if you're starting something new, it's okay not to be confident. And then you build your skills and you're competent, and then you're confident. And that's okay. That's part of the game too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, because we have to like that's how I see confidence. That's how I grow my confidence is in the doing. It's by
Yeah.
doing something that you fear over and over again, you grow confidence, right? You become confident
Yeah.
because we all, I believe, like that's why I say always, we all suck at doing something new, like
Oh
for the
yeah.
first time, right? Could be a
Absolutely.
podcast episode, could be on speaking on the stage, we all suck, right?
Yes.
And
Absolutely true.
yeah. So thank you so much for coming. It's been amazing. But this is not the end because we always end with our final five rapid fire questions. And every question has been answered in either one word or one sentence maximum.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. The first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Live in the now.
Beautiful. Second question, if you could relive one day of your life, one day do over, which day would it be?
Um, no, it's a simple day playing in the beach with my family.
Wow. Wow. That is powerful. Like just a simple day.
Yeah.
I love that. The next question, if you could master one skill that you don't currently have, what would it be?
I would like to sing.
Sing.
Yeah.
Are you a good singer?
No,
Okay,
more of a
but do
singer, but
you love
I
singing?
would love to. Yeah.
Wow. Now this question, I actually have another one, but I picked this for you because I think you are an adventurer. What is one adventure that you have never had but would love to experience?
Yeah, I want to do the hot air balloons in Cappadocia.
Where is that?
Cappadocia is in Turkey, and it's a
Oh,
place
right.
that they just have a lot of hot air
Oh,
balloons. So that's
okay.
one thing I'd like to do.
All right, the last question is, what brings you the greatest joy?
Um, Love, a hug with a person I love.
Love that. Now tell my people where they can find you, where they can connect with you, and they want to reach out to you and work with you. What is the next step?
They can find me. My website is theleaderpath.com. And I hang out quite a lot on LinkedIn, Caterina Kostoula. So feel free to DM me on LinkedIn and yeah, go download the leadership, the vision toolkit at theleaderpath.com/toolkit. And I'd love to connect with your listeners. Let me
Yeah.
know what you thought of our conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, let me know and let us know what is the biggest takeaway from this episode. This episode has been so helpful. And I will put the everything, the resources, the tools that we mentioned throughout the conversation. I'll put all the links in the show note below. So make sure you check it out and download your toolkit and give, Katrina a follow. Visit her website and share this episode with your friends and family. Help them create their life vision today. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss another episode. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you every other episode. Show up. The world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and take Find Joy Joyan _podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.